Thank you very much, Geneva Environment Network, for the opportunity provided to discuss about this very important topic. Let me first go through briefly on the background of the report. At the third session of the United Nations Environment Assembly, held in 2017, under the agenda of chemicals and waste, the member states underlined the importance of avoiding and minimizing the risks posed by harmful chemicals on human and environmental health, including biodiversity, and agreed upon a number of recommendations and measures to address them. That included a request to the United Nations Environment Programme Executive Director to present a report on environmental and health impacts of pesticides and fertilizers and ways of minimizing them, given the lack of data in that regard. The decision also highlighted that the report to be developed in close collaboration with World Health Organization, Food and Agriculture Organization, and other relevant organizations. The report also encouraged research institutes to widely share the results of epidemiological and other relevant studies so that the decision makers can be informed in their decision making process. The report consists four parts. The first part is the introduction and the context. It is mainly addressing the global drivers, actors, policies affecting pesticides and fertilizer use, as well as key findings of the reports and options for action. The second and third parts are focusing individually on pesticides, or exclusively on part 2, and the part 3 is on fertilizers, of the trends and status, regulatory and policy environment of respective chemicals, environmental and health effects, impacts of use, risk reduction, and risk management measures. The fourth part, that is covering generally both pesticides and fertilizers on opportunities and ways forward. It mainly focusing on the transformative actions to minimize the adverse impacts of pesticides and fertilizers. If you look at the approach adopted for the development of the report, it's important for us to mention that it was developed by a coordinating team established with United Nations Environment Programme officials and Food and Agriculture Organization officials, as well as WHO, World Health Organization officials. So we had a coordinating team among us from UNEP, WHO, and FAO that closely coordinated the development of the process. And if you look at the overall picture, we had a large number of resource groups, which include stakeholders, academia, IGOs, etc. Then we had some topic experts who will look at the information and review them and filter them as needed to be appropriate in the report. And then it goes into the drafters. They will put them in the respective chapters and develop the chapters in close coordination and collaboration with the coordinating team. And we also had close consultations with the member states, especially policymakers and national experts. If you look at the number of contributors, it's a very large number, over 30 institutes, around 10 governments, about 5 civil society organizations, and over 25 industries, and over 50 IGOs and 40 academia. We had a first consultative meeting with the FAO and WHO joint meeting on pesticide management, that what we call JMPM, experts on pesticides, and we also invited some national experts, national policymakers, and fertilizer experts into this first consultative meeting to mainly look at the table of content of the report, what should be the elements, and then key information sources and contributors. Then it went through further consultative meetings specifically with various stakeholders like fertilizer and data collection and drafting. And the initial draft was presented again in a consultative meeting back to back with the joint meeting of pesticide management by FAO and WHO to review the content and advise further content. And then it went through further development and presented to a selected number of national experts and policymakers, mainly focusing on options for risk reduction based on the outcomes of the report. Then it is going through the finalization of the report, that is the internal review, editing, and layout. We are in the latter part of this editing and layout at the moment, but in preparation for, in support for the deliberations of the United Nations Environmental Assembly 5 held in February 2021, that is a step 1 of UNIA 5 we call, a summary for policymakers based on the key outcomes and highlights of the report, so that the UNIA can be informed of what are the key information that is going to be presented in this report. The information can be found in the website. The summary for policymakers was mainly focusing on the information that is required for policy decisions at the global level, that talks about diversity of the drivers, actors, and policies that are shaping the use of pesticides and fertilizers, current and projected patterns of pesticide and fertilizer use, and minimizing the adverse impacts of pesticides and fertilizers again, and the importance of ambitious collaborative actions of all stakeholders to achieve the objectives of the global community. Let me quickly go through a few highlights of the findings. As we all know, pesticides and fertilizers provide a wide range of benefits, but however, the lack of effective management come at a cost of range of adverse impacts on the environment. Pesticides and their degraded products are frequently detected at levels exceeding the legal or environmental standards. There is still a huge knowledge gap exists that hampers a full understanding of some of the adverse impacts of pesticides and fertilizers. Yet, most important thing is the available evidence provides sufficient justification for additional public and private actions. So, to achieve a chemical safe future with minimal adverse impacts from pesticides and fertilizer, both incremental as well as transformative actions are required. While the incremental actions here refers to things like capacity building on, let's say, risk assessment of certain chemical or pesticide or fertilizer, and policy making decisions, and etc. The transformative action is a broader sectoral development and improvement. While stakeholders in value chain and agri-food systems are contributing to minimize adverse effects of pesticides, we have seen it, that's happening in the recent past. That's a very good sign. There's further need to scale up this commitment through targets and roadmaps. Some of the priority transformative actions the report talks about includes incentivize healthy and sustainable consumer choices and consumption, fundamentally change crop management and adopt ecosystem-based approach, use economic instruments to create level playing field, especially for the greener products and approaches, promote the use of direct financing to encourage sustainable agriculture, adopt integrated and life cycle approach for sound management of pesticides and fertilizer, strengthen standards and adopt cooperative policies for sustainable supply chain management. In addition to these generic transformative actions, there are two sets of priority transformative actions focusing on strengthening pesticide management as well as strengthening fertilizer and nutrient management. Finally, the take-home message of the report is together we can achieve a world without adverse impacts of pesticide and fertilizer by taking ambitious and urgent action. Thank you very much.